Hi, I'm Will Slickers, and you're listening to Good Morning Hospitality. And this episode is brought to you by our friends at Sojo. Now, you probably heard us talk about Sojo before, and why should you care about an amenity company? Well, I'm here to tell you that Sojo is more than just amenities. They're actually a software and tech company, and the byproduct of their software and tech is the amenity delivery and logistics. So, just like how we went from tape charts to property management softwares, from Excel spreadsheets to dynamic pricing, now we're going from the shopping cart, digital or in person, to Sojo. You make turnover days suck a lot less by automating the bullshit that goes into turning over a vacation home. Get Sojo with the link in the show notes and make sure you get 30 days free by using our link directly. You won't regret it, so get Sojo.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. Good morning. Happy
Good
Friday.
morning.
Happy Friday, the rare day we don't go live, but there's a reason.
Yeah.
A little behind the scenes.
Yeah. Everyone, if you're seeing us live on social media right now, we're actually on a plane to Barcelona. So pre-recording, doing all that stuff, double dipping the episodes this week for us at least.
Yeah, well, I just landed on a plane from Tel Aviv like a couple hours ago, and then I'm going to be on the flight to Barcelona when this is going on. If you see me at scale, give me a coffee, please.
Yeah. Well, we'll put like a link, like buy us a coffee type deal in the show notes, if you want to be a little good Samaritan type deal there. But man, speaking of conferences and news and stuff, we have a lot to kind of like touch on. It's going to be a multi topic episode today, so really excited to jump in. But guys, you know what we have to do before we jump into all the goodies, right? Do you know what we have to do, Michael? You look a little
I'm reading the show notes. Yes.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Welcome back, Brandy. Welcome back.
Yes. Welcome back, Brandy. But also got to give a quick shout out to our sponsors at TravelNet Solutions and, of course, Sojo. If you guys didn't know and you've been listening to the show for a little bit, you can tell that we have amazing sponsors because we're just so put together now with the amazing opportunity to work with them. And if you haven't heard of TravelNet is an all-encompassing company that has multiple tech solutions for vacation rental managers and operators throughout the whole industry. Plus, they integrate amazingly with Sojo and Sojo's tech. So Sojo, if you don't know, they're a great operations platform that will help deliver your amenities directly to your home, your warehouse, or to your cleaners without you ever having to pick up a pen or pencil to mark all your inventory. It's so easy. And you can check them out with the link in our show notes. And if you do it, you get 30 days free of Sojo plus their amenities. So pretty good offering.
Try it out. Sojo's great.
Check it out. Now, on to the rest of the episode. Super thankful for our sponsors, but let's jump in. A lot of industry stories. Michael, do you want to take it away today?
Yeah. I'm going to start at the top with some great news coming out of the hotel world. Hotels had it pretty rough during the pandemic, a lot different than what short-term rentals had. It was kind of the best thing that could have happened to short-term rentals. But unfortunately, hotels suffered for a couple years. But great news, Malia Hotels reported this week that they are beating pre-pandemic revenues, which is wild. Rates in hotels are outpacing inflation significantly, and revenues are there to prove it. Hyatt also held their investor day this week, and they're forecasting $650 to $850 million in free cash flow by 2025. So safe to say hotels are much on the rebound. I do think short-term rentals, it's softened a bit. Doesn't mean that one directly correlates with the other, but they are somewhat tied in with with one another. Two other pretty interesting news stories that jumped out at me this week. Simon Property Group. If you ever went to a mall as a teenager, it was probably a Simon Property Mall. And they are putting in a boatload of money, betting big on turning a lot of those real estate assets into apartments and hotels. One that they referenced specifically in the article I read was Phipps Plaza and Lenox Mall in Atlanta, where I'm from. So great real estate. The mall world has softened as Amazon has come about, but turning those into multifamily and luxury hotels, it's a good play. I mean, you've got the real estate, but it's going to be an expensive conversion. So good luck with that. And last but not least, one that I can't wait to hear Brandy's input on. Competitor Casa expands into the single family home world. Out of pure play, urban core, multifamily, apartment, hotel style inventory. Now they're expanding into single family homes. Brandy, give us your unabated thoughts.
Well, first I saw that the market is Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and I'm like, come on, guys, like, pick another market. No,
Isn't it illegal in Miami?
Well, so these are kind of my thoughts. Like, first is just that the single family home, like a lot of Florida has these big, vacation rental communities where it is very expected. But speaking from experience, Miami in particular can be quite the beast for the single family home vacation rental market. So best of luck. That's our single family homes at Romy. We are kind of like legacy property that, we still have, but that's certainly not something that we like pursue anymore. So it's just like operationally such a headache. As I'm sure so many of our listeners know who work in the single family home, market, and going from having more like centralized operations where you might have several units or several floors or whatever to, this home is 30 minutes between, before the other home. It's just operationally a little bit different, but I'll be curious. I mean, I always like to see friendly competitors doing new things. So,
let them try it and see if it works and steal it.
Yeah.
Steal the idea if it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, it's an interesting one. I think it's a move because their kind of target, they want to go public. I don't think they are hiding that anywhere. But their model is Sonder, and Sonder is not a great model for an IPO. So how are they different than Sonder? And now they're trying to start to tell that story. I don't think it's out of any other necessity than how to tell the public markets they're different than Sonder.
Unfortunately, Vacasa, the single family home public company, and like both of them are not doing so hot right now. It's like I definitely think that they have to get creative, to your point of like trying to prove that they are different. I think that having really strong, having strong financial statements is a way to prove your difference. But
yeah, there is a lot of money in luxury homes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how good are they? Are they going to acquire companies that do that already? Or are they going to go out and try and win contracts, hand-to-hand combat in local markets? The thing I've learned in almost a decade in this industry is that it's a local business, and running it out of San Francisco with Casa is going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. They could have some early wins, but it's not going to be sustainable. So we'll see how that, we'll be keeping an eye on it. Brandy especially.
Yeah. Might do some drive-bys, see what's going on.
Yeah.
Throw a party here and there.
Yeah. See how good their systems are.
That's too funny. Well, I know one of the other topics was going into, I know Brandy, you already brought it up just briefly, but we are on flights as this is airing. So for anyone who's listening to the audio or watching the lives, we are on a plane, or most likely Brandy will probably be there before Michael and I. But we're on our way to a conference, and Brandy, you just got back from one this morning, literally 2-3 hours ago. So I know we have a lot to go because the seasons of conferences in our industry are like it's a run for sure. So would love to hear your thoughts on kind of what you experienced and what's going on through your head, and any topics or trends, conversations happening.
Yeah, well, first, these conferences just kind of make me or reinforce like how much I love our industry. And how many great people we have. And it's, you go to these things and it doesn't feel like a slog of like tasks and things to accomplish. Like you're having really fun conversations and it doesn't even really feel like work, but you're talking to some really smart, really interesting people. So it made me feel like a little bit invigorated to kind of like a restart in the year. But yeah, there's a couple of topics that I think have been circulating around, and I think we'll probably see more this week. First, is kind of going hand in hand are branding and direct booking. So, one of the things that I've talked about in the past that at Romy we didn't really pay attention to the first couple years was our brand because it didn't seem that important. Like Airbnb and Vrbo were doing the branding for us and like the customer facing side. And I think there's a real change. And that even if you're an operator that has two properties, that you're still going to develop a brand because you can really personalize your experience if you're a smaller operator. And then if your plans are to scale pretty aggressively, then you have kind of like that foundation, that brand foundation that you can build upon instead of having to rebrand at one point, which can be expensive and difficult. So there's that. And then the direct booking side of that is, I mean, obviously it's no secret. Everybody is trying to get more direct bookings. And it's talked ad nauseum about the over reliance on OTAs and, just really having a more even diversification of your revenue streams and, not having 80% Airbnb, but really trying to achieve for a more even distribution so that if something happens with one of those OTAs, that you're not like left out to dry. And I think that, it takes a while to really crawl back up in those numbers with your direct bookings. But it's definitely something that's worth putting money into. Yeah. So that's on like kind of like the branding and direct booking side. I guess, do you guys have any comments from your conferences on branding or direct booking?
I'm a big believer in branding personally. Um, I think it is a challenge in vacation rentals because there's so many different property types. And as a property manager, in a beach market, you're going to have 5-bedroom houses with pools, and you're also going to have, a 2-bedroom condo, right? So it is a little tough to brand yourself as something specific. You can be known locally as a good operator, but I think that the bigger piece of the puzzle, no one has cracked this nationally on a household brand in vacation rentals. I'm hopeful that will happen eventually, and there will be 2 or 3 kind of household names. If Vacasa is unable to do it at 44,000 listings, it makes me think that model probably isn't going to make it. So it's likely to be a franchise model unless some private equity shop's going to do an insane roll up and learn from Vacasa's mistakes. But I think the franchise model is going to be a good option to actually apply national branding, but keep local operations and reputations in place. So I love that. From what we're doing at Storied, we want to tell the story of the brand through the history of the properties and through the visualization. Like, all of our properties are unbelievably gorgeous, very historic, and we've got historians pulling out pieces of the past from these properties and sharing those with travelers and guests. So I do think if you can tell a story and relate it to the travelers, they're going to resonate with it and like what you're doing and book with you, and repeat guests. They'll come back.
Yeah. It's interesting that even not at conferences, my business partner and I were talking about kind of how we're positioning our brand, which we're very small, but we just signed 2 luxury homes out in Britannia, Canada. So very exciting for that market, but the brand was such a big piece in that conversation with the owner, especially on how we're going to represent ourselves with like VIP guests and all this other stuff. And so I think it's very important that even if you are a big operator or a small operator, and I love Michael's points on the franchise model. I think, keeping that upper kind of brand standard with a local operations team is super important. And it's also very costly to not do it that way. Like if you're um, just like doing everything and trying to like make money, because Vacasa is obviously, I think their earning call, they had 50% of it was paid out to the owner. So their fees alone like are just insane, and they're not just taking a percentage. It's 50% of the revenue is going to them, and they're still losing money. So yeah, just like really focusing on all of that is super, super key. And yeah, I love that branding is a conversation in and outside of the conferences right now.
And I think, controversial take here, I think the whole talk of direct booking is misguided. Everyone wants direct booking, but
How so?
you build direct bookings on properly branding and remarketing to guests. You don't, I want to focus on direct booking. Yeah, great. Like, I want to make more money. It doesn't, how do you go and make more money? You be more consistent. You be more, you leverage different, better technologies. You do things that your competitors aren't doing. And I think the branding piece is a great one. There's some, locally, there's some fantastic brands in specific markets, and everyone knows that brand. Down in 30A, everyone knows 360 Blue. They've got a great reputation. They have 25% of the market, and it's a brand that anybody who's traveled to that area knows. So I think it is possible to do, and then they get a lot of direct bookings as a result.
Yeah,
a lot
definitely.
of people a lot of people look at Book Direct as like the gold kind of, I don't know, standard, which it is, but a lot of people, don't realize how hard it is. But the easy low hanging fruit is in your messaging. It's in how you communicate with the guests. It's how you set up your profile. It's how you do your day to day stuff with them. And you can
Sojo
get
boxes, brand them yourself.
Yeah, get them branded. I wish I had the box closer to me. I got the 360 or natural retreats one and all that other stuff. But yeah, it's like really simple stuff, and that costs very little compared to like paid ads on social or paid ads on Google and all this other stuff. So you don't have to go the paid ad route right away. I think you can do little things throughout your property.
No, but I'll push back on that, and that so like paid ads on social, that's more for brand awareness and not necessarily for conversion. But having a really solid paid ad, like if you have the budget for it, like it's good to get involved with that early and have a good strategy for that, because you can be very specific with a lot of your conversions and things like that. So I think I also understand that when we talk about this, it depends on the size of the operator. Like, what are you able to do? How much money can you allocate to all of this? So yeah, I think it depends if you're talking to someone with 2 properties or if you're talking to someone that has 100. It's a different story on like where your ad dollars should go. So
definitely. Yeah. I'm not in that boat. So I'm not going to spend a lot of money on paid ads right now, and just do the easy stuff where you can like obviously make it really consistent and low hanging fruit. So little stuff, solid little stuff.
The next topic, surprise to no one, is AI. I swear those 2 letters are really getting their day in court. So there's a couple of really cool companies that are trying to use AI to make all of our lives as operators a lot easier. And I'm not going to say some of the companies now because they're like I don't know if they're ready for publicity, but if they are, I'll reach out and we can shout them out on another episode. But just doing really cool things with messaging and like inside of your inbox, and kind of making more time for your agents to focus on more complex questions, or helping you scale without adding more agents. And then also using AI for really, really deep data dives and creating like really beautiful user-friendly dashboards that are great for actually like identifying and solving the problems that you have. So you can aggregate all the reviews that you get across all these different platforms and have like it's not just an Excel spreadsheet. You like have a clear idea of what's going on. And I think there's just a lot of, we've talked about this before, but in the beginning, like in December, whenever ChatGPT like blew up, it was all like content and they're, taking our content jobs. And
Mhm.
I think that it's just really, that's not where the like all the benefit is really going to come from. And I think there's some really cool, innovative companies in our industry specifically that are going to start coming up in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years. And as operators, I think that we have a lot to benefit from all of that.
Totally agree. I'm getting really excited about AI the more I play with it, just in the sense of like I looked at Yada AI because Brandy,
Oh,
you
they're
kind of mentioned
great.
that.
Shout out to Peter.
Yeah. So like looking at that and playing with GPT more and just learning like other stuff outside of it and the kind of the realm of how far it can really go. It's actually been great. I've been doing I feel a little bit more productive and just like having knowing how to prompt I think is really important for like ChatGPT as an example, just because I think that's the one everyone really as at least has heard of. So learning how to prompt has been like getting really better, and I think it just is such, if you're not using it every day now, I think it's like okay, you're gonna be a little bit behind, and the progression that AI has made in the last 3 months compared to anything else in the world and society. Like it's just insane on how fast it's moved. So yeah, super important. I think, everyday life is going to have it incorporated in some shape or form in our industry, at least. So that's cool to see that it's being brought up. And I'm excited to hear about the companies that you're not mentioning yet.
Subtweeting them.
Yeah, subtweet. Any other
So
thoughts for you, Michael?
oh, sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
mean
know. Yeah.
it's continuously evolving. We did a lot on AI last week's episode. If you want
Oh,
unabated
yeah.
thoughts from Jamie and myself on that, click backwards and we'll find it.
Next topic.
Yeah, next topic. Okay, so this is just like not a surprise to anyone, and we won't like hang on to this too long. But regulations everywhere. I think that in Europe and the UK, Australia, like there's kind of like a sweeping movement of regulations, and everyone is trying to grapple with that in their own way. So obviously for our kind of like North American family, it's like nothing new, but I think there's kind of a new wave hitting specifically like the UK and Europe, and it's something we're all dealing with, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
uh,
I think that goes hand in hand with branding. That right now the only brand is Airbnb, and they're not great at
mhm.
regulations. In fact, they're very bad at regulations. I'll say it. So the sooner we get big national brands or global brands or countrywide specific in Europe, I think the better suited will be to fight the regulation battle, but it's not going to be one that goes away anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be exciting for us to be in scale this week, just going into the operators that are going to be there and just getting their thoughts on it. I would love to, for any of our listeners right now, I think tune in for those episodes that we start dropping from this conference, because I think that's going to be a pretty big conversation. It'll be nice to get some local operators with some decent sized brands saying their opinion on it.
And send us any questions you want to be asked to some of the largest European operators.
Yeah.
We can put a microphone in front of them and put a camera and get some real live up to date inputs if you have any specific questions that you'd love to learn. So text, email, LinkedIn, any of us.
You could use the hospitality hotline. No big deal.
Or do
It's
the
kind of there for,
hospitality hotline.
yeah.
How could I forget?
And the next part I think is probably my favorite part. And it's the stuff that got me like all excited again about our industry is just how collaborative everything is. Like we're at these events talking and like different vendor competitors, there's different operator competitors. Like I always joke, there's kind of this group of like urban STR friendly competitors, and it's incredibly collaborative. And that I don't think you see that in a lot of industries. And I think that's really special. Like you're just having these conversations. We're all improving, helping each other tackle these like very real problems. And like this isn't a zero sum game. There is like enough of this pie. In fact, this pie is incredibly fragmented right now. So it really, I think, benefits us all that there is this real attitude of collaboration. And kind of some of the topics of on like in this vein are that like in the hotel world, which is much bigger than STRs, it's just not like that at all. And so we're small, but I think we are more united than other industries, specifically in hotels. And we have this kind of friendly competitor atmosphere. And I think that that's, it's really special, and it makes just this industry really fun to be in, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
And in terms, go ahead, Will, your shot.
I was gonna say, well, we're also having not today on Monday when everyone's listening and watching the live, but Friday, the day we're recording, actually having a live discussion. I'm gonna do a little shameless plug here, but a live discussion that might be a little polarizing for a lot of people on the differences of STR versus VRM type of operators. And I believe that I'm with you, Brandy. This industry is super collaborative, it's super friendly. We are super united in a lot of ways, but there are some people out there that may not be so. So we're gonna have that
Sure.
discussion, and I'll plug it out there in our show notes for everyone who wants to kind of hear some different opinions on both sides of the aisle, because I think at the end of the day, it's a conversation that needs to be had. And yeah, yeah, I'm on the collaboration side. I just want to see if we can get everybody on that same boat, but we'll see.
In the collaboration vein, I think I spent most of my career on the vendor side, and it's not often that vendors get to collaborate with other vendors or come up with thoughts or ideas or ways to partner or open up dialogue of acquisitions. And that's one of the cool parts of conferences. I think being in front of people and face to face is the best dynamic. You can do Zoom all day, but it's just not the same as having a meal with somebody. So I think, I think back to Focusrite, maybe 2018 or something, and there's a little table of Eric Brion, John Banzak, and Lena Maldonado. So the leaders of Turnkey, Wyndham, and Vacasa. And I, kind of immediately knew right then, well, I don't know who's buying who, but these are all going to be the same brand one day. So, I think you could kind of predict the future by seeing who's hanging out with who at different conferences as well. So.
Yeah, well, I think also from an operator perspective, when I go to these conferences and I see two vendors that I use and that I would like them to do more together, I'm kind of like, hey guys, I want you to do this. And
You're playing matchmaker over there.
Yeah. And so that's my favorite. I'm like, it's fun to like actually get to try to influence the product roadmap, because you can, and it's like, that's collaboration, not necessarily like in an M&A, situation, but
Yeah.
very fun. And then our last topic is Google Travel. And I think this is just really interesting. The emphasis that Google is putting on STR. So there was a representative from Google at the conference, and he's saying that they're adding in STRs in the hotel search and things like that. So you're getting more exposure, and they're adding more robust direct connections. So that's great. From like your PMS, you can have just an easier way to connect to Google Travel, and they're tracking the whole customer journey. You're getting all of this data. So I think that it's going to be really exciting to see what Google comes up with in the next year or so.
I love it. I mean, if you're not thinking that Google's sitting on the sidelines, you're wrong. They're very calculated, and they are going to figure it out. So keep an eye on it. Get involved with it if you can. I'm very eager to learn more on what Google's doing.
Yeah. Well, we've seen like such a big push, like going back to AI a little bit, with obviously Microsoft being a big investor in ChatGPT and all this other stuff and all this whatnot. And Google just did their new product release kind of party, I guess. And one of the biggest topics was their AI component and going into AI and travel and their phones and all this other stuff, right? Like all their products. So they are slower in the sense of, Microsoft has been doing this for a little bit with their Copilot program and everything else there. But like Michael just said, I really am like waiting for Google to just come in. They're just quietly sitting on the sidelines. I'm doing air quotes for anyone listening, that they're not making as big moves right away, but they're going to be probably dominating once they do pull the trigger on anything, especially with travel and all this other stuff. So I'm excited. I'm a big Google fan, so can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I've been talking about Google and vacation rentals though since 2016, so they definitely are slow and calculated.
Slow, very slow. That's good.
Well, yeah,
All
I'm
right.
excited to
Awesome.
see kind of if these topics, I know they're going to come up next week in Barcelona, but it's just kind of fun to track like where the conversation is going and how these conversations are kind of similar regardless of what market you're in, So.
And if you have any questions you want us to ask folks, vendors,
Yes.
individuals at scale, use the hospitality hotline. Right, Will?
Yes, sir. Speaking of hospitality hotline, that's our last segment of the day. Are we ready to do it?
Let's do it.
We got one caller from Minoan, so let's hear her message today.
Hey, this is Sage with Minoan. I want to get your thoughts on where the roles and responsibilities lie between property managers and owners when it comes to furnishing. And I mean, who is responsible for buying everything? Should the property manager and the owner be working together? Should the property manager be offering services to make it easier for the owner to furnish their properties? Because we know that the more money that you can charge a night, the more money the owner will make, the more money the property manager will make, and likely, if it's designed well, the better reviews you're going to get. So curious where you think the responsibility of furnishing, upkeep, replacements, etc., fall, and if it's on the property manager, if it's on the owner, or if it's a hybrid.
Brandy, I'll let you take it away.
I have a lot of thoughts as someone who deals with this. So I think the perfect world scenario is that the operator has, a standard package or, a couple different packages depending on what you're doing, and that the owner pays for it. That's just the best way. I think it's difficult in some situations where if someone already had the home, like if it's been in, if they've had it for 10 years or 20 years or whatever, I think getting someone to update their furniture, like piece by piece, is probably a bigger struggle. And I remember that being a topic of conversation at many firmas. But I think if you get like a clean slate, it's great to say like, here's the options that we have with our vendors, and you get to pay for it, or we can pay for it. You can do some sort of like loan program where you charge them a little bit of interest, so the operator might front it and then get a little bit extra. That's another revenue stream potentially. But I think that I think you could potentially add into your contracts is that the owner or landlord, however big your properties are, that they have to adhere to your brand standards in order to be a part of your program, because I think that's where it gets a little bit tricky. So I definitely would consider, making sure that you have that kind of language in your contracts.
Yeah. I was going to say for us, we do the same thing on kind of like our brand standard, but we actually buy not the furniture. The furniture, again, like Randy said, very much should be on the owner. But for us, we provide the linens, we do all the amenities, all the other stuff like that. So that way we don't get pushback, and we try to keep that same standardization right out the gate, whether the furniture slowly gets replaced throughout the time of our management agreement, but it's keeping at least some quality control on our end, because we all know that reflects our reviews, and that reflects how we have a rule in our agreements that if we don't get a 5-star review, we don't take commission. And it's based off of obviously things that are in our control. Like if it's a tsunami or something like that, like we can't control that. But if our housekeeper missed something, then that's on us. We didn't properly inspect the property and we miss it. So we actually do provide all that stuff up front. And
that is bold, Michael or Will. Sorry, that is.
Yeah. Hey, we've been killing it. We haven't had any 4-star reviews in a long time. So it helps us with incentives and just kind of driving, again, some risk in it for the owners to.
I'll wrap it up with 2 thoughts. One, I think it depends on the business model. If you're a vacation rental manager in a beach or mountain market, you're not going to standardize furniture. You can have standards, but delivering furniture packages for all of your homes, that one might be a 2-bedroom, one might be 7. That's a big lift. If you're an urban operator and you're going more for an apart hotel feel, then yes, it needs to be standardized in every room, every room in the building. The last thought, I don't know if anyone knows who Flatbook is, but Flatbook is the original name of Sonder. Back when Sonder was Flatbook, they A/B tested furniture and art packages, and in the same building. So one room had like IKEA furniture and the other had nicer furniture, nicer art, maybe local art. The one that had better furniture and local art did, and this was a long time ago, maybe 8 years ago, so finger to the wind, did about 15% better in occupancy and about 20% better in rate. So there is a difference in the quality and appearance of your properties. So don't just go out and buy IKEA, but there is certainly a top end limit. Putting a Picasso in there is not going to net you an equal amount.
No.
Totally agree. Well, sweet. Awesome. I love the hospitality hotline. I think it's a great segment. So we're going to keep it going, obviously. So make sure if you're listening, watching the live, use that line, dial in, give us your thoughts, your questions. And for that, we are excited to see everyone in Spain. We'll have Jamie Lane with us, and we'll have a bunch of other amazing guests to pop into the show. So if you're listening today on Monday when this is live, make sure you tune in the rest of the week for what we find and discover in Barcelona. Until then, I'll see you guys soon.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.